Good morning, folks. I hope you're all safe and well and still adhering to the lockdown requirements so that we are helping the NHS deal with all the cases and so on. So I was up bright and early this morning. It's all been beautiful weather, as you know, in Belfast anyway. And I was up bright and early this morning because on a Thursday morning I go to a BNI meeting, a networking meeting. And of course now it's held by Zoom and it's very helpful. And this morning everybody was very positive and the businesses are looking, putting their stuff online and selling online and so on instead of trying to do it. Obviously they can't do it now, the shops are closed and so on. So yes, it was very hopeful and everything, but there were a couple of people who spoke to me privately then who had sort of admitted that they did have a few fears about things. And of course, I've had people contacting me, clients and friends and family, about their fears for the future, about their fears for now, fears of being infected and so on by the virus. And those fears are very, very real. And it was brought home to me, and very understandable and very justifiable. But it was brought home to me because personally, I'm in that situation. I'm asthmatic, excuse my breathing this morning. But my partner actually works in the healthcare system and he's actually working with coronavirus patients at the moment. So although we go through all the really stringent hygiene procedures when he does come home, it's still very difficult to make sure that you think you've got everything, you've bleached everything you could possibly bleach and so on. But it was still actually some weeks before I had an actual reaction, a proper visceral fear reaction. And I had one the other day. And it really does leave you very weak and very, very, very scared. So what I normally try to do then with things like very strong emotions like fear is to remind myself that, at this moment in time, I'm okay. Normally, if it's something like maybe you're afraid of public speaking or something like that, and I think, well, at this moment in time, I'm not actually on stage. I might be afraid of going to be on stage, but I'm not actually on stage yet. And I sort of calm down. Or I try to look at the fear itself and I think, well, maybe it's just a fear of being laughed at, or maybe it's a fear of being wrong, or maybe it's a fear of making a mistake, or something like that. And those things, then you can ask yourself, well, how likely is that? How likely isn't it? And so on. And I gradually then talk myself down. Or if I'm going through it with a client, they gradually realize that, no, the fear is something, it's a thought in your head. It's a feeling that the thought creates, and you can let that go and you can be calm again. And sometimes I say, it's like you're walking down a road and a tiger jumps out at you and it's going to eat you. And whenever you have that fear, of course, your body goes into this override of this terrible stress response. So you obviously have cortisol and adrenaline and everything coursing through you. And in order to keep calm in that circumstance, you really need to talk yourself down. So that's all very well. And it works, I would say 99% of the time. And you realize that, of course, when you walk down the street, there isn't a tiger going to jump out at you. But with coronavirus, actually, maybe you need to think about the fact that there is a tiger. There is a tiger there. And it is just about to jump out at you. And we can't get away from that. And thinking your way out of it is maybe defeating the purpose of the fear. Because what kind of insight can you get from the fact that you're afraid, that you're really, really fearful, that there's this visceral feeling? What is the insight that you can get from that? So I would say to you, what is the fear trying to tell you? Because, of course, all our emotions have information in them. And they're usually telling us one thing or another about the way we're thinking about the world, or Maybe it's about our attitude to a certain circumstance. Maybe, we can change that or whatever. But sometimes, the fear, the visceral fear that you feel in your gut is actually real. It's real. It's a real and present danger, as they say. So the tiger's there. So maybe we need to be just honest enough and brave enough to look it in the eyes and actually say to ourselves, right, this is real. This danger is there. What can I do besides freezing or feeling terrible or letting this fear completely overtake me and completely hijack all my thinking and completely paralyze me? What can I do? So whenever you're looking at this fear and you're confronting it bravely and honestly, well, it's telling you something. What's it telling you? It's telling you to get out of risk's way. It's telling you, I want to keep you safe. So you need to start thinking about ways that actually you can do that. Now, we've been given certain instructions by the government and by the health authorities and so on that we have to stay in. We've been given instructions that maybe, if we wash our hands 25 times a day and we're very careful about washing things that come into the house and we Dettol everything and so on and so forth, that we'll be safe. But maybe you need to think about something quite radical. In my case, maybe I need to think about actually moving out for a while and going somewhere else, so that, I'm not at any risk from any germs or anything, any virus that my partner might inadvertently bring home. So I think sometimes, as I say, sometimes the tiger is actually there. Sometimes you need to actually look at it and say, what are you trying to tell me? What is it that I need to do? And maybe what you need to do is something quite radical to keep yourself safe. And that's fine. But when you confront your fear, instead of letting it hijack all your thinking and completely overtake you so that you're paralyzed with fright and you can't think a way out of it, and you just think, this is absolutely horrendous and I can't do anything about this. Actually, when you come down to it and you actually face it, you probably can do something about it. You can probably do quite a lot to allay that fear. So that just occurred to me the other day because it happened to me. And as I say, it was very, very visceral and very, very strong reaction when you're faced with your actual mortality like that. And unfortunately, we're all faced with our mortality every day of our lives. Most of the time we go through this delusionary process where we never think about our mortality and we pretend to ourselves that we're immortal. But of course, in these situations, we know that we're not. So that's just something for you to think about. Don't necessarily dismiss it. Don't think you're being silly. Don't try not to feel it. Don't let it paralyze you and let it hijack all your thinking. Face it. Have a look at what it is. And then try and do something about it that will make it less. That's all I have for you this morning. I hope you're keeping well and safe. And if you want any help at all with anything, fears, anxiety, whatever, give me a ring. Doreen Ritchie Coaching. And I'll see you again soon. Thanks.